Based on Pew Research polls, at least 2, maybe 3 people are estimated to get married each year in the United States. Many of those couples will find themselves in places of worship just like this to profess their vows of love beneath the shadow of the greatest act of love of all time, the crucifix. Before that moment, though, the hustle and bustle of wedding week can be quite stressful for many marriagees, except for the couple that we're talking to today. They clearly have their priorities straight because they've carved out enough time in their busy schedule to talk about probably the second most important thing that they'll ever talk about this year, Chris's Picks, Week 8 on the way. Hello, folks, and welcome to another edition of Chris's Picks. Yes, you hear that correctly. Wedding bells are in the air, but we're not down the altar quite yet. We have to talk about last week's games before we get to the happy couple. And I'm actually going to move through this quickly. I know I always say that, and I know I never do live up to that promise, but this time I intend to, okay? So the picks went 3-3 for me last week, as they did for the guest picker, my dad. So my dad and I tied. We both went 3-3. That leaves us kind of in the same boat. I'm still one game up on the guest. I'm 26-16 for the year, and the guests are 25-17 for the year. Halfway through the season, so we'll see if my lead tightens or widens. I guess it really can't tighten too much without being tied, but so be it. That's the words I chose. On to the recap. In a change of pace, the recently anointed league speed bump decided they wanted to turn driving the vehicle. As Harry and Team Sadho cruised to victory against Blake's Kent guard Jameis team. There really weren't a whole lot of hugely stellar performances outside of Trevor Lawrence, so we'll just talk about him. He threw for 310 yards on the day, and it culminated in a touchdown pass. Jerry Jeudy also joined in on the fun with a double-digit performance of his own. Harry remains in the playoff conversation with this win, so a huge win for his franchise. Speaking of playoff conversation, the Dixieland Delights edged out a win against a team takeout that really made things more interesting than they needed to be. William once again got a monster game from Austin Eckler, who completed his third 30-point game of the season. This was sorely needed after Michael Gallup's dreaded donut performance.
My boy, how many minutes you playing tonight? You get in? 0?
The Delights moved to one game above 500 at 4-3, and are sitting in a fairly decent playoff outlook considering the fact that this team started 0-2 at the beginning of the year, and there were some talks about maybe trading his pieces away. Not so fast. Williams still in this one. In a shocking development, Dylan's more than a Thielen team finally woke up and climbed out of the depths of last place. After defeating a Gritty and the Jets team that really dealt with inconsistency all year. Things were looking good for Drew until Ramondre Stevenson shredded the Chicago defense. Wow, say that quickly. Ramondre Stevenson shredded the Chicago defense. Bet you can. For 20 fantasy points on Monday night. Dill has struggled in choosing the right lineup all season. He's admitted to as much. But his choice to start Juju Smith-Schuster in place of... Wait a minute. What's that? I'm told Adam Thielen had a bye. So it really wasn't much of Dill's decision in the first place. In fact, you could argue that if Cousins and Jefferson would have played, surely Drew would have broken 100 points and Dylan would have played Adam Thielen in Smith-Schuster's place. But, Dill, will give you your props since this is one of your rare victories so far this year. Stop me if you've heard this one before, but once again, Jack's Hunter Biden laptop team scored at least 100 points, and once again, he found himself in the losing column, this time at the hand of Dave and the Mahomies. The Mahomies have shortened their name, but their list of playmakers still seems endless. This time, instead of Mark Andrews carrying the weight, it was Raheem the Dream Mostert and Joe Mixon, along with a nearly 30-point performance from Pat Mahomes himself. Dave stands pat as the number 3 team in the league with a 5-2 record. Finally, I have finished with the second highest point total 6 times in the last 2 seasons, and 3 of those 6 times I've played the person who finished with the highest point total. This week was almost a flashback to one of those 3 times, but I hung on to not only defeat Dan's Dalvin and the Chipmunk team, I hung on to claim the league high point total for the first time in my franchise's history. Now, credit where credit is due. This was all because of the Jones boys, both Daniel and Aaron. Great performances from them, coupled with the first George Kittle breakout game of the season, propelled me to victory in a must-win game for really my playoff hopes. I mean, looking ahead at the schedule, Dan was considered a winnable game. I needed to have it, and I got it. And lastly, the Young and the Holeless defeated the Chubby Dubbies in a barn burner to take home the Sugar Bowl trophy. Daniel opted to go with Joe Burrow at quarterback instead of Kyler Murray, which was a wise decision as Joe threw for nearly 500 yards passing and also recorded 4 total touchdowns. Travis Etienne also saved his best game of the season for this week to hand Scott and the Dubbies their first loss of the year. Now, a lot of talk has been going on about Scott's team, even about Dave's team, but people seem to not realize that Daniel has quietly tied Scott's record. So, I think heading into the playoffs, Daniel still has to be considered the favorite should all things remain equal. We'll see. I was true to my word. That was probably the quickest recap that I've ever gone through in quite some time. And why not? We've got plenty of time now to talk with our guest pickers. Roll the film. Welcome back to another week of Chris's Picks with the guests, folks. I'm here with the happy couple, soon to be married this week. This is actually their wedding week, and a lot of you said that this episode couldn't be done. There were a lot of doubters. They said, no way Taylor and Zach are going to do this. They're going to be far too busy. Yet here you are, you have your priorities straight.
I mean, Chris's Picks is honestly just the epitome of fantasy football. We would be silly to miss it, so...
Well, you're not too far off, Chris. I found out I was coming on this less than 12 hours ago. So, we're taping 30 minutes later than we should be. But yeah, we're excited. Wouldn't miss this.
Yeah.
Chris's Picks, there's no schedule for this type of show. And I did want to also plug my drinks in the koozie, the official wedding koozie. So it's a very themed show we have here.
Indeed.
Taylor's wearing a bride-to-be shirt and...
a white tux jacket.
A white tux jacket.
I'm going full bridal.
That's what we're doing. And, what's funny is I thought about some gimmicks for this show. I was like, maybe we should do the shoe thing where the couples put up the shoe for each pick.
Who's the boss in the relationship?
I was like, you know what? That's so much work. That's just silliness. Just silliness. We're not silly on this show. This is a very serious production, as you can tell.
I don't believe you.
We're going to go ahead and start with the games. So I'll start, and then we'll toss it to you folks. And we're going to start easy like we always do with the anti-game of the week. This is going to be the Young and the Holeless versus Team Sadho. So this is Daniel versus Harry. And Harry has no shot to win this game. Zach, much like you will have no shot to win an argument here. Once 72 hours passes, Harry's not winning this one, folks. Trevor Lawrence is not Joe Burrow, who's playing a Cleveland team, by the way. Gus Edwards is not Leonard Fournette. T. Higgins and Jerry Jeudy are not Cooper Kupp. Harry's outmatched in every phase of this game. We'll see if Amon-Ra St. Brown plays for Daniel. Harry does have Christian McCaffrey, so that might be a spot where he can make up some ground, but I've got Daniel in a big one. We'll start with the lady first.
All right. So looking at Dan's lineup, Joe Burrow and Leonard Fournette was kind of hard for me to pass up. That's two of my boys. LSU Tigers. Harry does have Taysom and Lutz, but I hate Trevor Lawrence. He has the greasiest hair in all of America.
Hey, fellas, look at that fruitcake.
So with that, I'm going to pick Dan Augustin. Easy.
Easy. Zach, who do you have?
I'm not going to venture too far off from that.
There we go.
My notes here are that, in the whole bowl, as we're calling it, Dan Augustin, I don't know how he wound up with this team. Like Burrow, Harris, Fournette, Kupp, Ertz. I mean, these are studs.
Yeah, a lot of luck, a lot of blind luck.
Yeah, so I'm locking in the young and the holeless.
Yep, so there you go. It's a clean sweep for the young and the holeless. And I realized in Taylor's analysis that she's actually the first female on the show that's not my mom. And I realized that the moment she said that Trevor Lawrence's hair was too greasy. And I was like, wow, we haven't had an analyst like that maybe ever on this show.
I have a lot of objective measures that I'm going to be bringing to today's show. So I hope you're ready for a new take on fantasy football.
That's fantastic. We've been dying for a new take. You don't want things to get too stale on the show. So we're also debuting a new segment on today's show. It's a brainchild of our friend Zachary here. It's the over-under. So we're going to be picking the over-unders on the game. So, for instance, Harry and Daniel have an over-under of about 216 based on the projected points. I think this is under. I think we're hitting the under on this one. What do y'all say?
Easy, under. Look at the facts.
Fact. Bears eat beets. Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
Not to be the third wheel here with this, but I'm going to go under as well. I think Dan's going to score most of the points here, but I'm not sure Harry's team is going to pull his weight. Sorry, Harry.
That's the biggest thing is Harry's team just probably won't score too much. So the under is a safe bet. That's another clean sweep. Plowing ahead to Hunter Biden's laptops versus more than a Thielen. This is one I think Jack should win easily. Dill has broken 100 points only twice this season, although they have been the last two times. Jack has been breaking 100 points fairly frequently. He's broken it 4 times this year. Jack gets Josh Allen back from bye, and Saquon Barkley has the hot hand. Kenneth Walker looks good in the RB1 position for Seattle. Dill does get Jonathan Taylor back, who, we'll see how healthy he is. Ramondre Stevenson has been doing great, but I really don't think Dill can rely on Aaron Rodgers here. I've got Hunter Biden's laptops. Zach, we'll start with you this time.
I'm with you, Chris. We were talking in the green room before the show that, where has Jonathan Taylor been? Aaron Rodgers has been through a real rough spot, at least last week. My memory serves me correct. I think Allen and Barkley are going to be the matchup to pull this one through.
There we go.
So, I looked at a lot of things. I saw that Aaron Rodgers was on Dylan's team. He is extremely sus. I don't like him. So, automatic negative points for Dylan there. Josh Allen, extremely nice to look at. I was very impressed. So, going on that, and I knew the name of Saquon Barkley and CeeDee Lamb, a.k.a. the Ball Boys, Saquon D's Nuts Barkley, and CeeDee's Balls Lamb. I will easily pick Jack here.
A lot of quips here. Taylor's ripping off a high joke per minute.
Yeah.
It's impressive. It's impressive.
I know. Sorry.
Well, the over-under for this one, folks, it looks like it's about 198 points. And to be honest with you, I don't think we're getting there. Like I just said before, Dylan's broken 100 points fairly rarely this year. While Jack's done it pretty frequently, I like the under in this one as well. Taylor, what do you think?
Well, I'm looking at both of their records, and they both seem to be doing pretty bad. So I'm going to go under here.
Under based off the record. Zach?
I'm with you. If nobody's really breaking 100, I don't think both of them are going to break 100 this game. So I'm going to go the under as well.
So we're hammering the under again. Might be a slow week for fantasy with all these unders. We'll see. Moving ahead to Steven Stogies versus Can't Guard Jameis. So this is me versus Blake. And I'll be honest with you guys. Blake's honeymoon phase is over.
You're not biased at all, though, right? You're not biased here.
Blake's honeymoon phase is over. I think that he's gonna start losing some more games. He started the season 4-1, but he's already lost 2 straight, and I think he's got serious questions with DK Metcalf and Mike Williams both potentially out. I finally get DeAndre Swift back, I think. I don't know. He's been supposed to come back for the last few weeks now. But I do get to pair him with Aaron Jones and running back 1 for the Los Angeles Rams, Darrell Henderson. Who would have thought I would be saying that in the year of our Lord, 2022? Daniel Jones is no Lamar Jackson, but he should be enough to win. I've got me in this one, and yes, it might be a little bit biased. Taylor,
Absolutely.
what do you think?
So, I really had to dig deep on this one. I looked at Blake's lineup. I do love Clyde, but I saw he was going to be benched this week. So that was depressing for me. I knew literally no one on your team, Chris.
Calling it, I bet we see Scully and Mulder. And who the hell are they?
X-Files.
So I went solely based off of the objective measure of attractiveness. Daniel Jones is very nice to look at. Chris.
Another objective yardstick from Taylor. Zach, what analysis do you have that can top something like that?
So in all of this grant preparation I've received for this, the only thing I have written down for Blake's team is what does can't guard Jameis mean? I don't understand it.
It's confusing.
But it's going to be really hard for Blake to keep up with the Joneses this week.
Yep.
So I'm going with you, Chris.
Well, that's a clean sweep for me. We've got a lot of agreement. A lot of things are coalescing in this room at the same time, and maybe it's just a young couple, you know.
It's because you live with us on the weekend.
That is true. This is essentially my house, you know.
This
So
is his room.
this is where I spend some time. We'll see if that changes when they get married.
Probably not. Let's be real.
You're always welcome, Chris.
The over-under for this game is a little interesting because Blake hasn't set a lineup yet. No jokes. We don't make jokes about that anymore. No jokes. I'm sure he'll get to it. But the over-under is set at 166 with where it is now. I like the over not just because Blake set his lineup, but I think my team's going to score a lot of points. And that's my logic.
Yeah.
Taylor, what do you think?
Well, just for the purposes of shaking it up this week, I'm going to say under because I'm looking for a little bit of a disagreement argument. I'm feeling a little petty right now.
That's a bull strategy, God. I'm going to hammer the over here, especially since the over underlines to line up set. But maybe we'll work that out in the future. Chris's picks weeks.
Maybe this is all in the beta testing. This little segment's all in the beta testing. We had a CPA on the show, and he wanted to whip out how he can do math, and he's got his large calculator out. So whatever. But so we've got 2 overs and an under. So we've got a little bit of disagreement. Our first little bit of friction on the show.
I'm loving this friction. You know why? Because that's how you get a fire started.
Just wait. I'm only one glass in. Who knows what glass?
Okay, folks, this is where the games get interesting. We've had some blowout games, I think, projected-wise. This is where things get interesting, like in a marriage. A couple of years from now, we've got some kiddos running around. Who knows? This is where the marriage gets interesting. This is where the games get interesting.
Yes.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
We've got Dalvin and the Chipmunks taking on a team takeout team. So this is Dan versus Logan.
Mm-hmm.
Logan has lost Breece Hall for the year. This man's cursed. He's always dealing with injuries. If he replaces that spot with Dameon Pierce, who is currently in as his flex, and he flexes one of his tight ends maybe, he might stand a shot. I don't really know. Dan has plenty of spots for breakout games. He's got Josh Jacobs, who's playing a New Orleans defense that can't seem to tackle. He's got Jamar Chase. He's got George Pickens. He's finally got a healthy Dak back for the second week. I've got Dan in this one. Zach, we'll start with you.
You know, I'm not really sure with this one.
Okay.
This is difficult for me. Granted, both teams are 2-5, at least to my knowledge. I'm not sure what team takeout is. I like Dalvin and the Chipmunks name, and for that reason, I'm going with them.
There we go. Some of Taylor's analysis rubbing off, I think, in the room.
That's the beautiful thing about a marriage.
Yes.
You kind of become each other.
Yeah.
There we go. Taylor, what are your thoughts on this one?
So I dubbed this one the trash bowl that would be sponsored by Waste Management because both of them suck.
Oh, wow.
So further looking at the lineup, I love Jamar Chase. Go Tigers. That's all I really care about in the NFL is LSU and the Saints. So love that for Dan. Logan, you lost me with Tom Brady. He needs to retire. He makes out with his kids. We don't like that around here.
Can we bleep things out in this Chris's pick?
Oh, we're going to. So you've got to appreciate somebody who knows her loyalties. As she slides right off the screen, I'm talking about how dependable she is, and she just disappeared right from our very eyes. There she is. She's back. She's pouring herself another drink.
Yep.
She's got two loyalties in the NFL. It's the Saints and LSU. That's weighed heavily into her picks so far. And you know what? I don't think she's going to be far off when it comes down to it. The over-under for this game is 170 based on the projected points. It's a little tough one for me. I think I lean the over. Logan's been having a tough time. I think this one's right on the cusp. If I could choose right at 170, I would. But just for the sake of it, I'll choose the over. Taylor, what do you think?
Like I said, this is the Waste Management Bowl, so I'm going to go with the under here.
So she's sticking true to her sponsor.
Yeah.
Over. So we have another two overs and an under.
Yeah.
This is for the second time, the fellas in the room like the over, the lady likes the under, and I'll tell you what though, the under's probably going to hit. Just knowing how things go.
And even if it doesn't, I'll still pretend like it did because I don't like being wrong.
The woman's always right. Plowing ahead to the Dixieland Delights versus the Mahomies. So this is William versus Dave. A lot of bye weeks. Pat Mahomes is on bye, so Dave's got to start Justin Fields. Now, Fields has been playing well from a fantasy standpoint, but is it consistent? I don't know. Mark Andrews should bounce back against Tampa Bay, and Olave is really the only thing the Saints have to write home about at this point in time when it comes to their receiver room. Will has to start Jared Goff, whose nickname in the NFL, it's no secret, it's Jared Goffle. Jared Goff has not broken 10 points in fantasy in the last 2 weeks, and Eckler's on bye. So I think that I've got to go Dave with this one. I think I'm going Dave. I think it's going to be a solid Dave, and we'll start with Taylor.
Okay, so I saw both of the quarterbacks were on bye week, so there was, I know you agree, right? You agree, huh, buddy? So there was actually nothing for me to make a legitimate, unbiased opinion on, so I'm going to flip a coin right now.
Uh-oh.
On camera.
Okay, we've got yet another
Very scientific analysis.
Yet another
Heads.
objective.
Right here, because the Dixieland Delights are written first, will be heads, and Dave, the Mahoonies, will be tails. All right, now I will flip, and I will have Zach and Chris both verify my. I can't really flip with my nails, so we're just kind of like.
Beautiful.
What is
It
it,
is
everybody?
tails.
Yeah, that's a tails.
All right, Dave it is. That's my pick, and I'm sticking to it.
Not a whole lot of rotations on that flip, but it is tails, and she's going with Dave. Zach, what do you think?
I'm going to go with the luck of the quarter there and stick with Dave. I don't really have many notes on this whenever I was being prepped, other than Dave has Olave.
Yes.
I'm hoping he has a big game just for the Saints' sake. So I'm going to pull with him. Although he is starting Justin Fields, whose main receiver is a fellow Tulane alum. So gives me some reason to pull for his team.
For those that don't know, Zach is a big fan of the Tulane Green Wave. That's his alma mater.
Baby. Number 23, right?
Yeah, LSU jumped us, but not doing it.
No.
But, you know,
Maybe we'll play each other in a bowl game. Wouldn't that be nice? House
that'd be
divided.
amazing. We
Feel
could
all
do,
house divided.
You know,
Y'all could get a license plate.
Yeah, has
No, we're not
divided
gonna go
license
that
plate.
far.
We'll put it on our name.
Here we go, folks. I mean, we're just agreeing on everything. This is, you can tell we're entering the honeymoon phase of this relationship, and you gotta love it. Now, here we go. This is important. The game of the week: Gritty and the Jets versus the Chubby Dubbies.
Oof.
I'm dubbing this the Goat Bowl, and I'm saying it's the Goat Bowl because you have a face-off between two Alabama quarterbacks, Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts, who, in my humble opinion, are the greatest quarterbacks to do it at Alabama, at least in the Nick Saban era. So,
I still like both guys. I think both guys are good players. I think both guys can help our team. All right, so why do you continually try to get me to say something that doesn't respect one of them? I'm not going to. So quit asking.
I know that's a controversial statement. I'm sticking to it. It's the Goat Bowl. And we should see great games from both quarterbacks. Jefferson is back from bye. D-Hop is in his second game back, so we'll see how that fares for Scott. Will Darren Waller start, or will it be Foster Moreau? I'm not sure. That's a question for Drew. And will Tyler Boyd go off? That's a question for Scott. If he does, this onslaught from him and Stephon Diggs could be too much for Gritty and the Jets to handle. Can Singletary be just not good? Edit that out, Chris.
I don't know what to say because
Can Singletary be not just good, but great? He needs to be great going up against Miles Sanders and Nick Chubb on Scott's end. I looked at this. I ran the numbers. I didn't flip a coin. I think Scott's going to win. And we'll start with Taylor this time. Really, this could be the little brother bowl, as the participants in this game are Taylor's little brother and Scott, who is a little brother to somebody. So
That's the Brother Bowl.
could be the brother bowl. There
I
are.
did see that my brother had Justin Jefferson. Once again, go Tigers. I was looking at Scott's team. I only knew Jalen Hurts, and I know Andrew has Tua. Nick Saban clearly said Tua was better than Jalen Hurts. So
I'm not going to. So quit asking.
I'm going with Tua and what's Andrew's name? Gritty and the Jets.
Gritty and the Jets. She's riding with her kin. Zach.
I'm not going to venture off with this. I'm going to stick with it.
Clean sweep.
I think Jefferson is primed to really excel this week, and he has Zeke, and I think it's going to be a really close matchup, but I think he's going to upset Scott this week.
You think Drew's going to win?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. So he's also sticking with his soon-to-be kin.
Blood is thicker than water.
There you go. Well, and the over/under for this game, we lest we forget, is at 223. I like, you know what? That's a lot of points. That's a lot of points.
I'm going to jump you this. I'm going to get the under on this.
The under is hitting from Zach. Taylor, what do you think?
I don't know. This is a hard one for me because, I like both people. I hope both teams have fun. Maybe I'll go with the over here. I'm feeling agreeable right now.
I'm going to be crazy and agree with Taylor here.
All right.
I'm going to ride with the over, too. I don't know why. I just feel like a lot of points. It's the game of the week. It's prime time. I think points will be scored. I want it. It's good for ratings.
We want the drama.
It's good for ratings.
Bring on the drama.
That's what it's all about.
That's right.
Well, folks, that was it for this edition of Chris's Picks. I want to thank you both for coming on and making time in your busy schedule. I mean, I'm sure it's a hectic week for you guys. You can find this couple. Where can we find you guys at?
Immaculate Conception, 7 p.m. on Friday.
Yes.
I'll be the one in white. He's in a tux.
Also in white.
Also in white.
There we go.
Halfway in white.
Both very holy.
Yes.
There we go.
And then we'll be the ones drunk on the dance floor afterwards. So we hope to see you all there. Mom and Dad will be breaking out the dance move.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see Mr. Vincent hitting the dance floor. I've heard stories.
Going crazy. Angela loves Uptown Funk. It's going to be a party.
Yeah.
It's going to be a party, y'all. We'll see you all there.
We also want to shout out both Mr. Vincent and Miss Angela. They're avid watchers of the
They
show.
are.
Yeah.
They also funded the wedding.
They
so
funded the
They
wedding.
are our prime supporters here.
So we want to thank our
This
sponsor.
is the sponsor of this week.
Dr.
Unknowingly.
and Mr. Amine, the sponsors of this week's
The
show.
sponsors. And I also do want to mention, I totally forgot, Huey. Huey, get in here. Get in here and wave goodbye.
Here he is. Come in.
Oh, buddy.
Well, Huey is in
Goodbye.
menace mode. Huey's in menace mode.
Say hi.
Oh.
Say hi. There he is. Oh.
Folks, that'll just about wrap us up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.